I would like to say, welcome, and, I'd like to say, this is a chance, um, to meet and to, uh, find out more or find out you might say find out less about what these principles are about or um, what not n what what a no thought paradigm, is about, because that's really where the answers that everybody has been, searching for, uh, however long you've been searching, that was the answer that I found, um, that was, so surprising, it was so surprising that it was, in a state of no thought, a state of that was, so simple. It's so singularly, um, uh, you know what it did for me is it really, eliminated my problems. I found out my problems were all stored in a s a s in my mind, it in the past, and, when I realized the state of no thought, or I went beyond, everything I had, that I had known about this world, which was really simple. It was utterly simple, and that really, uh, it really cleared my head, of everything that I had feared and everything that I had, um, thought was important or relevant. It was a magical thought. It was one magical thought. And I was surprised that that was what I had been missing my whole life. I I really was. And it's still surprising to me that it's so simple that that everyone's problems are all stored, let's say, in a lost mind. And but there's one, it's like a master delete key, that you have on your computer that if you push that key, it just wipes out everything. And you start completely over without your personal thinking being a factor. And I didn't know such a thing it was existed and that it was a answer. Psychology and uh, people that were searching all over the world would really, that's what they were missing, and I had missed it too. And fortunately, somebody named Sydney Banks pointed it up, and I glanced over it. Um, he said it, and I thought I resonated with it, but I couldn't get my head around it because I I tried to understand it. I think I tried to explain it. I tried to market it. I tried to um, do something with it, and there was literally nothing I could do with it that would be. Uh, it was the do nothing paradigm, the do nothing, um, the one magical thought that's no thought, and that was completely wonderful. but also completely devoid of me, or of my history and my problems and my issues and my opinions and my judgments, and still is. And so that was really quite a shock, and it is still today. So when my head fills up, as it occasionally does, um, with whatever um, personal things that I believe in and get affected by, um, I I suffer needlessly, just like anybody else does. And um, that suffering needlessly is a really universal malady, isn't it? It's a malady that I think everybody, um, well, I know everybody uh, shares. Coming up in my training and in psychology, I didn't know anyone who didn't. Now that I look at it, I didn't know anyone who didn't suffer needlessly, either quietly, as they say. I think it was Thoreau that said, most men uh, live lives of quiet desperation, and I didn't know anyone who didn't. Um, I thought that was normal. I didn't even know it wasn't. I didn't even know it was suffering needlessly. It looked to me like it was life as usual, and we were all involved in it, and we all functioned with these burdens, um, some more dire than others. But when I heard that the answer that I was looking for was no thought, it it was so simple, um, and and my head cleared, and it it struck me, like that there was one thought, one magical thought of no thought that was an answer to the world's to my psychological problems and the world's psychological problems. It was a stunning proposition. And my my head later filled up, and I lost that um, the peace and the wisdom and the everything that I was looking for got uh, obscured. And then I started to learn, oh, that's when I started thinking personally. And the insight that would always help me uh, was no thought, no personal thought. And every time I really found that, I I I found everything I was looking for. I found I still had, it wasn't like I became I mean, I still had everything I had, but I didn't have any problems about everything that I had. I had a problem-free, s- uh, a suffering needlessly existence, life in the moment, right now, and And I felt it. I felt that freedom, that freedom from my personal problems. And then I would realize again, oh my God, this is what everybody on earth is searching for, whether they know it or not. And then I might try to tell people about it, and I might complicate it, or they had questions about it, but sometimes people would really pick up on what I was pointing to. And so that's what we're here. We're here as a town to celebrate the mental health that comes with finding this one magical thought and then sharing it, living in it, trying to talk about it. But as soon as you try to figure it out or explain it or put it into concepts and beliefs, it's not a conceptual, it's an a-conceptual truth. It's not conceptual. It's not intellectual. It's not man-made. It doesn't have anything about it that is historical, you know, or limiting. It's a different dimension. So as a town, you know, we're gathered together, and we're here to see what's happening in the town. What are you learning? What questions you might have? What sharing you might have? Or maybe you just joined just to listen, be a part of the community, this small town, and but whatever your reason, welcome, and maybe we'll have a nice time together over the next hour and a half or so. So any questions or comments or anything anybody would like to contribute? I might even ask at somewhere along the line, I want to ask Brett to contribute something, but is there a hand up? Is it Lee Valley? Oh, hi, Lee. I believe you're.
Hi there. I apologize. My internet's not great, so I'll do my best. I apologize. You can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to formulate this question. So I'll splurt out some stuff, and then we'll figure out where we are. So
let's see if there's a question in there somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
So, I've been listening to Abraham. I don't know if you've heard of it, Abraham, Esther Hicks, Abraham. Anyway, it's talking about, they talk about the law of attraction and so on. And I am of the intellectual understanding about it's all thought, and the idea that when we understand that and just go with that, you know, there's nothing to do. We don't really need the world to change. And I guess I'm still holding on to that idea that, well, the great thing is, you know, it's almost the giving in order to receive. You know, if you give with the idea of you're going to get something, well, you get nothing, right? Whereas if you give without any intention, without any attachment, it almost happens that you tend to receive anyway. So I'm of that understanding with the principles. It's that, you know, when I let go of that attachment, when I understand it's my thinking, it's not the world. I don't need to change the world. I don't even need to change my thinking. I guess I'm still hanging on to that idea of, but if I do, then maybe the world will change. So did that come across as a question? I'm not sure, really.
Well, I mean, within it, I can hear, and I'm sure other people may have a thought too, but I can hear complications and letting go, and if I do this and if I do that, etc. Well, that all those things are not in the paradigm of no thought. They're all it's easy to, well, it's tempting to get into the other world, the other dimension of figuring it out and trying to read and complicate and as soon as you do that, you take a step in the wrong direction, you know, and you never find anything of you never find what you're looking for looking in the wrong direction.
Okay.
It's not possible because it's the wrong direction. It feels different when you're in the wrong direction. It feels like you're struggling and you're intellectualizing and you're Sid used to say, you're trying to figure it out. And he was very adamant about that, but in a soft way. He would say, don't try to figure it out. And then people might say, for example, they might say, well, I know I'm trying to figure it out, but, and then they would have something to say. And he said, well, don't try, just listen, just don't think, just don't think, don't try to figure it out. He said, I myself can't figure it out. It's unfigure outable. That's the beauty of this one magical thought. It doesn't have any there's nothing to it. It's without form. And you can't even, as soon as you put a form into it, you've made it into a something, you know, that you need. And as soon as you have something, you don't have no thought, you have thought. You put your personal thought in there, and then you get lost again. But again, I mean, he said, and he knew that there was just one magical thought that everybody on earth was looking for, and it was the state of no thought. And so but a person has to find it for themselves, you know, like he couldn't really give that to somebody because it was not it. If you could give it to someone, it would be it just doesn't work that way. It's kind of there for you, Lee, you know, you, Lee, and Zoe, and Allison, and Luke, and Brett, Brunella, and Margaret, and Marta, and Hank, and Evadne, and Rosella, and Gil, and Barbara, and Judy, and Miriam, and Nikki, and Bee, and whoever else might be listening to this later on, it's not really uh, uh, possible. And Sid put it this way once. He said, "Don't you think that those enlightened people that have been alive through the ages, that if they could have given it away, they would have? You know, I mean, you realize, yeah, the Abrahams of the world, the Jesus Christ of the world, the Buddhas of the world, the Abrahams of the world, if they could have bestowed it, if they could have given it, if they could have given it away, don't you know they would have, for Pete's sake, and everyone would be living happily ever after. But um, it was not possible, because that would put uh, a me and a you and a giving and a receiving it would put something in there that doesn't belong in there. It doesn't, it's not possible to package it and to give it, because it's nothing. And now Sid, I think Sid was a really astute, remarkable teacher, because he knew that fundamentally. He knew it, and he stuck to it, and he come back to it, and he just got a deep comprehension, a deep, in my opinion, and it's somebody that I could listen to and learn from. But he was adamant about this, what I'm saying, not because I'm trying to um, uh, co-opt his words, but he was trying to say what I'm trying to say without being able to say it. That it's not in the words, it's not in the concepts, it's not in a belief. It's utterly simple and utterly unfigure outable. Your little mind, your little intellectual mind, which holds all the problems in the first place, all of them, can't get out of its prison, and will religiously adopt concepts or beliefs ad infinitum. And it's done it since time began. And that's what's caused the plague of mental sickness that the world suffers from today. And it's all curable, but you have to find it for yourself. People have to find that cure on their terms for themselves. And then they might want to try and share it with people, like I'm trying to share with you. And uh and 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 it's a little bit tricky, because unbeknownst to me, you might be in the audience here thinking, what's he trying to say? What? Oh, I think I know it. Yeah. Like you might be trying to, in your own little subtle way, not really listening without thinking, but you might be thinking and you don't even know it. And so you, like I did, and I have done, you complicate it. And as soon as you complicate it, you miss it. So the law of attraction, let's say, or the law, whatever laws, whatever methods, whatever techniques out there, um, whatever shortcuts, whatever things to do, the world is full of those things, full of them, overflowing with them. Um, none of them are capable of giving to you what you already have. This purity of wisdom and a state deep within your own, not yourself, not in your body, but deep within the nature of existence beyond time, space, and matter, which is our essence. There it is. And so you have to find that. And it's so simple that that you can't figure it out. But think about it. Like, isn't that great that it was put in a place where it couldn't be, it was uncontaminatable, you know, unmarketable, unwordable, unfigure outable, beyond time, space, and matter-able. Brilliant. I love how the British they have that phrase, brilliant. You know, they have a certain way that they say that I really appreciate. Brilliant. Well, it's the most brilliant, most simple, most spectacular thing. The greatest secret on earth is, this is the greatest secret on earth.
So I'm going to not contaminate it by saying, so so we're not deliberate creators, or when I say we, I say ego, so then I'm contaminated, correct?
I didn't, would you say it again? I'm sorry, I didn't, it kind of got broken up.
So I'm contaminating it by saying, are we deliberate creators, or is that the ego speaking?
Are we deliberate creators? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying? Well, we transform this. We're transformers. Or you could say creators, but we create this first of all, I should say, don't try to figure it out, Lee. You know, we transform this energy into form, and then we when we miss it, we worship that form. We get lost in that form. We get hemmed in by that form, and we lose track of this creation. So all you have to do is go back before you created that form, and just rest. You're already there, and enjoy it. Enjoy your life. And so for me, when Sid, I talk about Sid because he was he's just had so much knowledge about this. I'm not trying to worship him or say that he was a guru or anything like that. He was just a common, ordinary person who found the secret to life. And And he said, uh, it's not in your personal thinking. It doesn't exist there. And that all of psychology and all of, have been like have been looking in the past and looking in the details and looking in the stories and looking in the diagnoses and looking in this and looking in that. He said it's all you'll never make it because it's not in there. And I was fortunate enough to really begin to kind of try to listen to that, which was so counter to everything that I had ever really imagined. I had no um, cognizance at all of a no thought state. Um, I only had training and expertise and lostness in a state of thought, of thinking. And he said, that's not, it's not in there. And he was talking from another dimension. And fortunately, for whatever reason, I just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it. And then at some point it began to hit me. Oh, I can't think this. This is not thinkable. This, that he said, and I'll read you a little story that he put in in my book. He said, as a matter of fact, Keith, everyone on earth is only one thought away from what they seek. Can you imagine that? Everyone on earth is only one thought away from what they seek. If they can find this one magical thought. Time and time again, people would challenge me and ask what this one thought was. With a smile on my face, Keith, I would answer, the one thought you seek is the state of no thought. I remember one particular man accused me of talking nonsense, then proceeded to tell the group a story of how he was driving down the road and suddenly he experienced the state of no thought and almost drove off the road. I panicked, he said, because I couldn't think. He told me it was the worst experience he'd ever had in his life. Oh, really? I asked. And you say this, so Sid's listening to his comment, and he says, and you say this all happened to you when you were in the state of no thought? It was the thought that I couldn't think rationally, the man answered. So, Sid responded, you must have been thinking to create your panic, were you not? The look on his face was priceless as he realized he had not been talking about the state of no thought. He didn't say another word. Now that's like 2 paragraphs, but there's tremendous wisdom in that story because you see the man's, bless his heart, his skepticism, his refusal to, he misunderstood, didn't he? You know, he just misunderstood. It doesn't mean he should be taken out and shot or anything, but he just misunderstood. He thought that Sid was talking about something that he knew about. Well, he wasn't talking about something he knew about. He misunderstood him and thought he was talking about um, uh, the something that he felt panicked because he thought oh my God, I can't think, which was a personal thought. And that, that took him away from no thought. And you could take, you've been taken away from no thought many, many millions of times. Me too. But it takes you away into thought. And what do you find in there? Well, you find panic and insecurity and psychological problems. But you're only one thought away from a reset. So it's not that big a deal, dare I say. Mental sickness is not that big a deal, even though it's the plague of existence of humanity on the earth today. There's one magical reset that is within our consciousness to experience. And when you experience it, your head clears of your psychological problems, guaranteed, because all your psychological problems and mine and anyone else's are all in the world of their thinking. No thought is not in that world. And you know that if you find that and you know that, then you've found what you're looking for. And and in addition, you found what everybody else is looking for. Whoopee, you know. Now you might have to find it again and again and again just to kind of get settled about it, because it's just tempting, isn't it, to go for the law of attraction or another book or another system or another all those temptations. That's what the world gets lost in and is lost in. But something happened when I saw how the people that had been listening to Sid, they wouldn't get lost like that. They were just ordinary people living their lives in a mentally healthy state. And the noise of their minds and the noise of their lives and the techniques and the methods, all of which they had all been completely lost in, just faded away. And that's the revolution of mental health that is upon us in the future. When people see that, then they will just ordinarily become not consumers of methods and techniques and people telling them to do this or do that or do the other thing or do less. Or like I saw a thing yesterday on the internet that said, well, all these techniques and methods about meditation, we've simplified it now. And so now it's just down to but I read the ad really, really carefully. And there was stuff in there to do. There was, because they don't get it. They think now they've got a new, simpler, they've taken all the wisdom of all the meditators and boiled it down to three things or two things, or one thing. They missed it. They just missed it. Don't get tempted by that. If you can, stay away from it. Just live without seeking. Stop seeking.
Pete,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to add one thing to what Kate has said. It's something that happened 4 years ago. Kate and Valda did a 4-day seminar in 2019. It was called Always True, Always Relevant. And it was an unusual seminar in that a person was invited to be the client for what Kate and Valda would do in their private session with a client. So it was an opportunity for other people to learn about what do Kate and Valda do in their session with somebody who wants to work with them. And I was there in person. I was watching it all with maybe 20 other people. And then I was also looking after the technology. So there was another maybe 20, 25 people who were watching it online. Okay, so live streaming basically. So on the first day, we just spoke about the 3 principles in general. We didn't start the client work. And then on the second day, it would be just Kate and Valda with this client. Okay. So the client started talking about whatever she spoke about. And then after a little while, it was time for Kate and Valda to, it was their intake. And then Kate and Valda started talking about the role of the 3 principles playing in the client story. So, and after about maybe 40 minutes, perhaps 45 minutes of Kate and Valda talking non-stop about what they had learned about the 3 principles, and they didn't really give the client an opportunity to say what we were hearing Kate and Valda were saying. But if we keep that in mind for now, right? Now, because I was looking after the live streaming aspect, I was getting messages from other online people telling me, this is what Kate needs to do now. This is what Valda needs to do now. Which was interesting to me because the people who were live streaming in, they seemed to be very keen in knowing how the client was doing after just listening to Kate and Valda for 40, 45 minutes without getting any feedback from the client, right? So I thought, we seem to have a few people online who's a little bit impatient. They're not allowing the conversation to take place at its own pace. They just started having their own thought about what was going on, and this is what needs to happen, kind of thing. Right? So I was like, this is an interesting thing. So as I saw what was happening, and then I looked at Kate and Valda, right? And I was kind of like, well, I think we need to let it take place in its own way. I mean, I can't speak for Kate or Valda. I don't know how they do these things. So I have to let it go. I have to let them do their own way of doing this. And a question came up for me, which is a very interesting question. It might not have anything to do with the law of attraction, but it's a metaphor. And I asked myself, is Kate and Valda being patient with the client? And what occurred to me was, Kate and Valda are not being patient and they are not being impatient either. They have found something deeper. Right? But the people who are asking, oh, no, Keith and Fowler really need to stop. They need to check in with the client, that kind of thing. Right? They would have been impatient. Right? So after another 10 or 15 minutes, and then Keith and Fowler asked the client, what do you make of what we said so far? Did it make any sense? Is it resonating with you? Is there anything you're saying that you haven't seen before? That kind of thing. So that was very interesting to me. The idea of patience being a virtue, which I'm not disagreeing with, but Keith and Fowler were demonstrating a different kind of patience. It's clear that they were not thinking about being patient or impatient at all. Neither of those two. It was something more fundamental than that. Anyway, so that was interesting to me, how people observe these things. But anyway, so Keith and Fowler carried on working with the client for the rest of the day, and for the whole day, the following day. It was a 2-day, 2 whole days of working with the client. And then at the end of that second day, people were asked to share what they had thought about the whole educator and client sessions. And as well as Keith and Fowler asking the client, what do you make of these 2 days? Have what was said made any difference? That kind of thing. And for the client, happily, it made some difference. But what was interesting to me was that the same people who said Keith and Fowler are being too patient or being too impatient. This is what they need to do with the client. This is what they have to do. But at the end of those 2 days, they completely changed their tune. They said, oh, Keith and Fowler was so respectful of the client. They had the time for the client. They were so with the client. Right? And they didn't really do anything to make that happen at all. That was the one thing. It was quite, in some way, it's a little bit disturbing that they didn't do anything to make that happen. The ego obviously doesn't like that aspect. But so I started to see that the ideas we come up about how we would like to be seem to be missing the point. So I saw in Keith and Fowler that they were demonstrating qualities that doesn't involve any thought about it in the first place. So that stayed with me all my life since that moment, and I've come to realize that things like resilience or confidence or being mentally healthy, the moment I think I need to do anything about them, I've gotten lost without realizing I have. It looks like it's a bright, shiny object, and we get attracted by it. But if it's a bright, shiny object in the first place, then obviously it's in form. And because it's in form, we put our attention to form, losing sight of what created the form in the first place. Right? So in a strange roundabout way, for any one of us to be aware of absolutely anything, it has to happen through thought in the first place. It's just that when it doesn't look like thought, then it takes on a thinginess about it. It takes on a it seems to have some kind of magnetism about it that makes us go into it and therefore think about it. But that's not where the action is. It's like he was saying, it's one thought away. So And on a very separate side note, I have looked a little bit into law of attraction. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I noticed something about Steady Bank. He seemed to be I don't know if it's the right way to say it. Okay, please feel free to disagree with me. I think Steady Bank was excellent at the law of attraction, and yet he did nothing about it whatsoever. He was attracting people from all over the world to come and see him, to listen to him. What did he do to make that happen? I have no idea. He didn't try to make it happen, didn't try to do that. And it was just quite extraordinary. So with that in mind, I kind of knew, okay, maybe I don't need to think about it in the first place. We didn't really know, because now I've got less on my mind. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to share, that's all. Thank you, Keith.
I love that. I really heard that. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Who said that? Who just said that comment? Oh, was it you, Lee?
Oh, it was me. Yeah, I was
Okay.
just.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
Good.
brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will take another question from somebody who got their hand raised. I will come to Kira, but I know Dory has had her hand raised first. So Dory, would you like to come in, please?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Wow, I am so happy to be here today and see everybody. Thank you for this topic. Seriously, Keith, this finding this one magical thought that Sid talked about and wrote about in all of his stories and in something landed today in listening to you speak. And it was so simple how, okay, I had to write a few things down because there's been so much conversation that I wanted to capture the essence of what my experience was. And it's like, in all that Sid shared, life is dancing between the formless and the form. It's just, we don't know intellectually about this other realm. And when you were sharing about finding this one magical thought, it was like the mystery revealed itself to me. It's no thought. And maybe I heard that before, but that no thought experience is a felt sense. And it's like you hear people talk about going home and grounding and all of this, and it's not a concept. It's not a belief. You can't figure it out. It is truly that simple. It's a felt sense experience coming from not the intellect, but beyond this realm into the formless. And it's a big deal for me to share. So I just really wanted to thank you for this opportunity and celebrate the simplicity of all of this. We overcomplicate life. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much, Soy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. The overcomplication-ness ability of the mind is just extraordinary, isn't it? the ego mind, you know, and I heard Sid say once, somebody asked him, well, what is the ego anyway? And Sid said, well, the ego is just everything you think you know about this world. And that cleared my head. I'll tell you that right now. Like, it was like, oh, well, that's a whole lot of, I think I know a whole lot about this world. And it's, you know, my opinions and my beliefs and my judgments and my problems and but he's saying, go one step beyond that to no thought. I that well, here we are. That was huge. And I thought, my gosh, and I I think now I can imagine the whole world living in this kind of haze or maze of um of thought, personal thought, creating all this madness, uh, and and being sold on it, and being and suffering it, and that just beyond, I kind of think of it like it's almost like the atmosphere that covers the earth, that's got these layers, but then there's some point where you go beyond the atmosphere, let's say. Well, just beyond the atmosphere is no atmosphere. And just beyond all that maze and haze and all these things as humanity has been um, lost in, and uh, and psychology was interested in, it had the interest originally about what is all this uh, uh, lostness all about? What is there hope? Is there something else? Um, and they couldn't find it because they were looking within the confines of this contaminated atmosphere, you might say. And then Sid saw, and other people, other enlightened people saw the same thing, but they went one step further, uh, and they had a really important message to say, and a lot of people have been touched by their messages, but 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 fortunately, Sid had a certain way, in my opinion. He had a way of characterizing it psychologically that was welcome to my ears, and then when I heard, at some point I heard it, and I thought, oh my God, he's not kidding. Uh, there really is a capability, that we have the capability through our own psychological nature to go to, and that our psychological nature itself allows us to recognize the illusionary gap between the spiritual and the physical, and we have that within. Every human being has that within themselves, and that is the cure for this madness, this maze, this obscurity, this uh, politicization, and um, alienations, and the suicides, and the drug addictions, and the suffering. This suffering is so all encompassing, and maybe because I've I've had a career where I've sat with people in their sufferings, and there are multiplicity of sufferings. You know, there's families and drug addictions and poverty, and I mean, my God, agencies and um, all involved in treating, helping people with this um, um, within this maze. And unfortunately, many people who are in the maze are helping other people in the maze. And as Sid said, he relayed humorously that he was when before this was before this happened to him. He was at a seminar. He went to a seminar trying to get some clarity about his marriage, and he said uh, he and this other person hit it off because there were two people uh, uh, trying to help each other, and he said it was one problem trying to help uh, the other problem, and he said, and all we were doing was just spreading mental illness. We had no idea that that's what we were doing. He did not know what else. He didn't even know it was innocent, but it was fruitless. And then this person said to him, the same person said to him, you know, Sid, Moses went up the mountain, and he said, God said to Moses, go down and tell those people anything you want, and they'll believe you. Well, Sid hears, he doesn't hear anything about Moses, or he just hears that the guy say, you're 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 trying to do you're trying to do this with your thinking, and your thinking itself is the contaminated problem. And it just cleared Sid's head. In his account of it, he just kept talking about, my head was so clear. I'd never seen life so clear. And it's so simple. And he said to the guy, because it hit him like a ton of bricks, he said it was like the guy hit him over the head with a sledgehammer. And it was like, and he said to the guy, my God, do you realize what you just said? And the guy got defensive. Well, which puzzled Sid, like, now, if he had known what he just said, why would he have ever imagined getting defensive? So he could see that he said something truthful, but he didn't know it. Well, Sid heard it and knew it. And Sid could see that the psychologist, the man happened to be a psychologist, um, didn't understand what he said. So Sid went beyond what he said, out of the atmosphere, before time, space, and matter, before anything, and heard it, and realized, my God, do you realize what you just said? And he was never the same after that. That was just like, it cleared his head and he said, all of my problems vanished like mist in the morning sun. Well, of course they did, because they were all in the atmosphere. You know, they were in the thought world, in the thinking world, the world of personal thinking. And one step beyond that was no thought. That's just a way to say it, but it really exists. And we're beginning to enjoy it, a world beyond the atmosphere, you might, in a manner of speaking. And this town hall is a community of people that are looking to hang out up there and share a few stories and get together and have a good time, because there's nothing else to do. So you can go have a good time. Go have a good time with your family or your friends or your girlfriend or your cousins, or by yourself, or this is yours. This answer is here for everybody. And it's so utterly simple that, and don't try to figure it out. Don't try to, because it's, again, it's a no thought state. It's one no thought state, one magical thought. And that's the answer. Now I see one of my close friends. I'm going to call upon Omar in a second, because he and I are doing a program, and he's become a close colleague, and we decided we wanted to share this because Sid had written in my book, which I've not yet published, but I will soon, someday soon. And Sid said, this is the psychology of the future. The psychology of the future is the state of no thought psychology. And that's not, and that's a science. That's that is of another dimension. And Omar knows that, as well as many of you know that. But we decided to create this this program to study the wildly beneficial simplicity of this scientific psychology of the future. It's not ours, it's everybody's. It's the it's a unitary psychology. It's a new dispensation. It's a new overarching universal psychology that's immortal and without form, and it's not a theory, it's not a concept, it's aconceptual, it's atemporal, it's aspatial, it's amaterial. It's not, it can't be contaminated by human beings. So we found an impersonal psychology. Now, if you go look at impersonal psychology on the internet, they'll take you into all kinds of impersonal psychologies and theorists and yada, 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 but that's not it. It's just not. So Omar, you have anything you want to contribute? I don't even know if he's actually, oh, there he is. There he is. So I'm calling on Omar to
You're picking on me, Keith.
Yeah, I'm picking on you. I'm picking you out of the audience here. And Brett, these are my two best buddies, Brett and Omar, and Omar's, Brett's, by the way, is in England, and Omar is, where are you, Omar? Let's tell.
I'm in Casablanca at the moment, in Morocco.
Yeah, Casablanca. That was a famous movie once, I think. Yeah. Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
So good to be here. So good to be able to manage the last 30 minutes of this call. I was out with my family. It's pretty late here. It's the same time as Central Europe. It's 10:15 already, PM. So yeah, I just loved what people shared, what Brett shared. I got a glimpse of what he shared the last bit, and what you just shared. And I mean, you said it all, Keith. Like there is nothing to add to what you said, apart that that the three principles understanding is really like something occurred to me yesterday about the three principles, because I hear definitions of the three principles: mind, thought, and consciousness, and there are no definitions of these three principles. We just make them up, and when we stick with what we make up, we get stuck. And I get stuck when I stick with one definition of mind, thought, and consciousness. But as soon as I drop what I know about the three principles, I use the actual three principles that we are all gifted with to share or to speak about it in that moment. And I think there is nothing that beats that in terms of I don't know if we have people in the audience that share this understanding with people. They want to share them with their loved ones, or coaches, or nurses, or psychologists, or psychiatrists. It doesn't really matter, because even you are not working like as a counselor or trying to help someone psychologically, you could share this understanding with everyone you meet without even sharing about this about the three principles. Just the way this understanding impacts us, and the way we become, like the way we are being in life, could impact others, and they could see something for themselves. And I think this is the best part about about the three principles and Sydney Banks' teachings. It's the best thing every human being could come across or find for themselves. Finding who we truly, our true identity, who we truly are, beyond our egos. Thank you for putting me on the spot again, Keith. And I'm glad you're back on the internet, on Zoom. It's really boring when you're not around, Keith, So good to see you. Really good to see you. And
So
good to
nice.
see everybody, and good to see you, Brett.
Well, I don't think there's anything more we need to add, I love this silence that came over everyone, and just go enjoy your Sunday, and enjoy your life. And thank you for being here with all of us in this great silence. And we'll see you down the road. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you all. Back
Bye-bye.
here again in 2 months. Bye-bye.
2 months. Oh yeah, okay, 2 months. See you in a couple of months.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. You're so welcome.